Hey
Scott,
Jerry, how are you?
I'm good, Scott. Listen, it's an absolute pleasure having you on. We're massive fans here in Ireland, and it's great to speak to the man himself.
Thanks, appreciate it. So I had a lot of fun in the opportunities I've had to visit Ireland. I was there in 2002 with the World Wrestling All Stars. Had just an absolute blast in Dublin, and had Perry Saturn, I thought, almost get me killed in Belfast. So I've seen the gamut.
Yeah, no, Belfast is different gravy, definitely. It's listen, that's what we want to speak about first, Scott. Look, you're a man of your word. You know, you make a lot of stuff happening. We're seeing right now with Impact. You know, there's been a lot of game changing stuff happening. Um, will we get that Ireland tour next year? Because look, you know the Irish scene's crazy. It's absolutely lit right now at this moment in time. And myself and the team are trying to think: has there ever been an Irish wrestler in Impact TNA? And we could not recall if there was one. So look, let's talk about a possible tour next year. Let's talk about the potential stars on the Irish scene right now. Will you be looking to maybe sign some up next year?
Yeah, absolutely. We had some great Irish talent actually as part of Gut Check this week. So we there's winners of Gut Check, and then there's individuals that get put on the radar based off of their performance on it. And one of the things coming out of it is, we evaluated over 160 talents from all over Europe, but mainly from the UK. And then, like I said, there's some really good Irish talent out there. And off the top of my head, I can't honestly think of a true Irish talent. We've had some talent of Irish descent, but not a true Irish talent on the roster that I can think of off the top of my head. But certainly, something we should probably look at in the future. And when you talk about places to go, like I said, Dublin and the Point was, just a tremendous venue. I still remember the crowd to this day. And you look at what they've done with different events in Ireland over the years, and I think there's obviously a fan base there for it. And as we look to expand and do more, I think the idea of being in Ireland would be fantastic for TNA wrestling.
Definitely. And look, the potential is huge. Right now, we've got like numerous organizations here in the country. And a lot of fans, like when we mentioned you were coming on with us, a lot of fans mentioned, could we get an Impact TNA crossover with OTT? Like, is that something that you will definitely look at perhaps next year? Look, a crossover with an organization, or as you say, look, is it definitely the pipeline to happen anyway?
Yeah, look, I mean, we're always open to collaborating, whether it's with large companies like AEW or New Japan or AAA, or whether it's more regional promotions. And hey, if there's somebody you've got in mind, Jerry, feel free to send them by. We've done a lot of collaborations with companies large and small. As long as it's good for the business of both companies and it's something that excites the fans, then we're definitely open. And look, we've had a lot of interest from different places in Europe. When it was announced that we were coming to the UK, the amount of places that have reached out and people that have said, hey, well, what about this? Well, what about that? What about Germany? What about Austria? What about Switzerland? What about Ireland? It was like, hey, there's so many possibilities out there. So I think that you look at 2023, I think it's great that we got back out to the UK. We had planned on being here in 2020, but then we all know what kind of happened early in 2020 that sidetracked our plans for the tour then. So it's great to be back here in 2023. Earlier this year, for the first time ever, we were in Australia. It's kind of crazy to think about. It took us 21 years to get live events in Australia because it was always a strong TV market for us over the years. But to be able to do that, I mean, I think it's amazing to be back here, amazing to be in Australia. And I think as we look to do more and more internationally, look, once we're over here, hopping from one country to the other is a whole lot easier than flying across the pond. So I think it's definitely something that we'll be exploring. It has been talked about. We've just been so engulfed a good part of this year with getting ready for this TNA wrestling announcement. It's been something that's been in the works since February. So I think it's something that I think has really excited people domestically in North America and also around the world. So look forward to getting out to all of our fans out there.
I love it. Now, Scott, last week was a crazy week. Obviously, we had that huge announcement that returned to the UK, and that was essential for us Europeans to see that happening. But you look relatively fresh. You know what I mean? The UK is a crazy place. You look great. Obviously, if you came to Ireland, look, the Guinness, the Murphys would have been a different story. And look, you might look too fresh, but look, what was it like to be back in the UK? First of all, we know Harley Hudson and Leon Slater, they've obviously earned, big opportunities. So tell us, what was it like being back in the UK? And obviously, look, we'll talk about Harley and Leon. That's obviously a great opportunity for them as well moving forward.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's been great to be over here. And I mean, I guess, full disclosure, if I spent a little bit of time in Ireland, I'm sure it's the whiskey that would probably get me. I love myself a whiskey. I partook in a few here on this tour. Thanks for saying I still look good. It's been a long week. But I think one of the things that keeps me rejuvenated has been the energy of the fans. UK fans are as energetic and as rowdy as any fans out there in the world. So being here with them has been something that keeps the juices flowing. Gut Check was an amazing experience, seeing talent from all over Europe come together and seeing how vibrant the scene is fantastic. Having Harley there and the opportunity presented to her, I think, there was at least 20 to 30 people that were in the running that we could have looked at. She just kind of like, when you looked at everything, looks, presentation, passion, athletic ability, like wrestling ability and potential. I think it was all there. So look forward to having her come to Canada. She's got a scholarship to Can-Am Dojo where she'll get to train with Josh Alexander, Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, myself, among others. I think she's going to do great at that. And I think with that in mind, I think there's probably, a time in the not too distant future where you see her join Leon Slater on the TNA wrestling roster. Leon's as good a prospect as I've ever seen. It's hard to believe he's only 19 years old. He's mature beyond his years. He's got all the athletic ability under the sun. And, is a wonderful young man, great attitude on him. And we look forward to him being part of TNA wrestling starting in 2024. And I'd say the sky's the limit for him.
Definitely, we agree. We're happy to announce, obviously, on the show recently that it actually happened. In Ireland, it broke. There was a show here at the OTT 9th anniversary, and it actually went out. So the crowd were actually in attendance. We had John Moxley was there, but it went out. Everyone was talking. Everyone was looking at the phone, and we seen Leon Slater got that breakthrough. So it was huge because he has appeared here numerous times. We have to speak TNA. When you announced this was going to happen, obviously the change, impacted TNA in January, Hard to Kill. It broke the internet, you know what I mean, Scott? It literally broke the internet. We're all massive Impact fans, but TNA is something that we all kind of grew up with. What was it like making that announcement? And look, there's serious times ahead in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's something we've been working on since February. Like, it really started in February, the daily work towards this. So, I mean, it's something we've been working on so long. There was days where it felt like we were never going to get there, and I'm super proud of our team and the fact that so many people were involved and that it never actually leaked out. I think it's a testament to the group of people that we have and the fact that our team really knew that we had a chance to deliver a special moment to wrestling fans around the world. And look, like, spoilers happen, but it's so cool when you can have those moments with no spoilers and catch everybody by surprise. And I think we were able to do that at Bound for Glory. So I'm super excited for what lies ahead. I think that wrestling fans around the world, certainly they've wanted, I think, to chant TNA for years, right? And I think that it was out of almost respect and the branding of Impact Wrestling for the last few years that they didn't regularly do it. But it broke out at shows of ours at times, those chants. And it broke out at the Royal Rumble when AJ Styles and Bobby Roode squared off in the ring. It broke out when Jeff Jarrett and Sting squared off on an AEW pay-per-view. And it broke out right here in Wembley Stadium when AEW was here. I mean, you heard those TNA chants. So the fans have not forgotten. I think basically part of this is going to the fans and saying, you've wanted this. Here it is. Like, chant your hearts out. Like, we're back.
And it's back with a bang. And like, we have to speak, obviously, look, we're looking at that roster right now. That roster is incredible. Alex Shelley, one of the OGs, Chris Sabin, PCO signing a new contract, which is huge. How proud are you of that roster right now? When we speak to Impact stars, weekly, monthly, And we always hear the stories about the locker room, how tight it is, how you know what I mean, what kind of a family it's like, you know. So what does that mean to you? And obviously, you know, Chris Sabian and Alex Shelley, you know what I mean, still leading the way when it comes to Impact TNA.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've seen a lot of locker rooms over 31 plus years, and this one that we have together right now truly is special. And the bond that it has, and we saw it here this week in the UK. I mean, a lot of times it's so fragmented and people kind of stick to themselves, but there's just been such a camaraderie among the roster and the crew, and that's one of the things I love too. Is it's not like, hey, here's the talent, hey, here's the crew. Everybody hangs out together and feels they're a part of the same movement. And then, you know, here recently, these last few weeks, having Will Ospreay here with us, like, you know, one of the things Will said to me is, he goes, you know, what's so cool here is the fact that everybody just hangs out, you know, together. And he goes, it's just such a cool vibe. So, you know, like hearing that from a guy who doesn't have to give any compliments he doesn't want to, he doesn't have to say or do anything he doesn't want. He's Will freaking Ospreay. So, you know, his you know, commentary on that and his comments on that, and you know what the roster has really become. I think talent wise, to your point, I mean, we have an amazing, diverse roster that's super talented. You know, I think there's something for everybody on that roster. As a coach, it's truly special to me. You know, as you mentioned, guys like Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, who I've known since they were literally teenagers, and seen them grow up into amazing professionals and amazing human beings. So that's truly special to me, you know, to see a guy like Eric Young return here. You know, a guy who's another TNA original. So to have him, you know, like the grass isn't always greener. Sometimes you go somewhere else, and once you get there, there's a little bit of buyer's remorse, and you decide, you know what, I think I was much better off there. To have a guy like Frankie Kazarian, who's one of the first guys that I hired back in you know, really year one of TNA wrestling. You know, we made the joke this weekend with Chris Sabin and Frankie Kazarian squaring off. It was over 20 years ago that they faced off in what we call the Battle of the Futures. So I mean, to have a guy like Frankie, he came here last year for a couple of months as part of the talent exchange with AEW. And you know, at the time he got here and was like, this is where I need to be. There's no ill will, like no bad words spoken about AEW. But like Frankie said to me, and like I got back here, I got in this locker room and I realized like this is my home. This is where I belong. So to see people make these choices and be like, this is where I want to be. Like I have options. There's other places I can be, but this is where I truly want to be. To me, that's part of what makes this locker room special.
And it's very special indeed. Now, I have one or two more questions before I get to the fan questions. There were so many submitted, okay? But what's your thoughts on Speedball Mike Bailey? Look, a fellow Canadian, this guy we absolutely love to bits. And look, he's one of the hottest prospects in all of wrestling right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, Mike Bailey persevered through, you know, a 5-year ban. It's really hard to be a professional wrestler in some ways and not be in the U.S. And Mike had an immigration problem and spent 5 years not being able to go to the U.S. But what did he do? He didn't sit around and mope. He came over here to the UK and worked a ton. He went to Japan and spent weeks and weeks in Japan. He went out there and continued to work and develop. And Mike Bailey is a world-class performer. He's as good as it gets. You saw it Bound for Glory, what him and Will Ospreay did, going out there having, you know, arguably match of the year. Certainly something that's got to be in contention in the running for that this year. I mean, he's an amazing performer and talent. You know, so we're super excited to have Mike as part of this. You know, when Mike's, you know, problems were coming to an end and he was going to be eligible to go back to the US, you know, him and I had some conversations. And I mean, there's another guy who I know had opportunities to go, you know, other places, but as we talked about it, he really felt like this was a good fit for him. And much like Leon Slater, you know, we had a moment with Mike Bailey where went to the ring and, you know, offered him a contract. And it was kind of special in the sense it was the very same ring in the very same building that I got to do that with Josh Alexander a few years earlier. So Mike Bailey's one of the best, and we're excited to have him here as part of what I arguably feel is the most well-rounded roster in professional wrestling.
Completely agree. No, I'm going to get killed if I don't go through the fan questions, Scott. So, right, I'm going to get one here now from Ben Harding, okay? So he says, obviously, Scott, look, you've been involved in so many, you know, so many kind of stages of wrestling as a wrestler, you know, as a promoter, a booker. What do you miss most about wrestling in general? So do you miss being in ring?
Well, you know what? It's kind of funny to ask me that question now because I've been in the ring a few times in the last few months, and you know, they're truly special moments. Slammiversary was a special moment in my hometown, and you know, there's not a lot of times in professional wrestling where you spend months and months building to something. And I think what we did with Bully Ray and myself. I mean, look, let's be clear, we're not the focal point of the show. You know, the point of the show at this point belongs to the Josh Alexanders, to the Steve Macklins, to the Mike Baileys. Those are the people that are at the top of the crowd. But for a couple of old war horses like myself and Bully to go out there and be able to be one of the stories that just simmers for months and months and finally culminated Slammiversary, that was kind of a special moment for sure. And being able to do it with Eric Young as my tag team partner, was certainly you know, an intriguing piece. It's not something that we even knew was on the table when we started, and as things developed, when the opportunity arose, it was like, this is the perfect guy to drop in here and be part of this thing. So that was certainly special. And then at the 1,000th episode, going out there and wrestling with America's Most Wanted after so many years of battling against them, it was kind of a nice change. I'll always say it's much nicer to have them on our side than the other side of the ring. So that was you know, that was a lot of fun and special. So I guess you know, from the in-ring performance aspect of it, you know, I miss a little bit of that feeling that the juice is flowing when you're in the ring. But truthfully, I've learned over the years to get the same type of adrenaline rush from working backstage and helping the talents have those moments. You know, so I mean, do I miss it? Sure, I do sometimes. And truthfully, part of what I miss some days is I miss getting, you know, booed out of buildings. You know, it's nice to hear the cheers. It's nice to be appreciated. But I spent years and years, you know, doing one of the things that I thought which I do best, which is rile people up. So there's days that I miss that, but it's just rewarding at a whole different level to sit in the seat as the president of TNA Wrestling and be able to part of overseeing what we're doing here now as we wrap up 2023 and head into 2024.
I love it. Now, Scott, we had so many questions yet again about that crossover. So look, you know, you're gonna come to Ireland next year. There's no doubt about that. We'll keep the fans happy and we'll say, look, that will happen. Phil Connolly wants to know, okay? Obviously he collects DVDs. He's saying there's not enough Impact DVDs here in the UK and Ireland that he can buy. So he said, first of all, make sure next year when you are TNA president that, look, the DVDs are available here in Ireland. That's a big thing. But he was also saying, are you open to the idea of having pay-per-views across Europe? So, like, you know, like Hard to Kill 2025, maybe it's in the Point Depot, Dublin, the Tree Arena. Is that something you could be open to in the near future?
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. The first major pay-per-view that I produced was in Glasgow, Scotland, you know, in 2002 for the World Wrestling All-Stars. The second pay-per-view that I completely oversaw production as, because I was already involved in TNA wrestling at the time, came from Auckland, New Zealand. So, you know, I've been part of events in Switzerland. I've been part of events in Germany, in Ireland, you know, so, I mean, certainly the idea of doing pay-per-views or television from around the world. I heard the same questions earlier this year when we were in Australia for the first time. You know, they'd love to have a televised or pay-per-view event there. There's always the hiccup of how you handle the time change, but I think that's always manageable as we've seen, you know, with other companies do. So certainly as we get our feet back established here in the marketplace, I think the idea certainly of doing television and live events from over here is something that's very appealing.
I love it. Scott, listen, it's an absolute pleasure and honor speaking to you as always. We hope to see you in Ireland next year. There's Guinnesses on us. Look, there's never such thing as, you know, too much Guinness. We'll give you as much as you want. But look, it's an honor. You're doing a great job as always. Keep up the great work, and we hope to see many Irish stars join that TNA roster next year. And we hope to see you here as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks, Scott. See you soon, my man. Thank you.
Take care.